All right, good morning, everybody. Well, it's more like noon, isn't it?
More like noon. More like noon.
What is this again? This is our podcast?
Podcast, man.
Oh, man, where's my brain?
Where's mine? I forgot the name already. The Yin-Yang Effect, man. It's the Yin-Yang Effect.
Yin-Yang Effect podcast with Lamar and Mike. I
What's
don't
up?
care what name order we use, as long as, it's both of us. We're both here, we're in this. And we want to learn something, we want to teach something, and we want to have a good time doing it. So we hope we help.
Correct. I think we're covering part 2 of ego, man.
Absolutely.
Ego.
Absolutely.
And I already forgot the first point of it, but I guess we're just going to dive on in, you guys.
Okay. Let's see. Last time we covered a lot of important concepts. And the thing to understand here is that these are huge concepts. They're extremely complex, but the problem is they're so complex that they're actually simple once you integrate that into you through direct experience. Once you know what I'm saying, you don't need to hear or think about it ever again. In Buddhism, they say, like, once you get it, throw the books away. The sound of the rain needs no translation. Right? It's very simple stuff, but we make it complex. We are the thing that twists it all up, and that collectively we believe ourselves to be something, right?
Yeah.
So if you were saying, my body ends at my skin, right, and it's me versus everything, right? So that's a poor perspective that most of us live in through our entire lives at some point, or up until a certain point where they eventually flip from this really heavy, really rigid style of thinking to this very open, very free style of thinking, where they see, instead of living through the eyes of fear, we can live through the eyes of love, and we can choose to stay, I don't want to use the word positive, that's the wrong connotation here, but just be grateful and have compassion for self and other, and love for self and other, because I don't truly believe that love has an opposite.
I don't either.
You know?
Well, I guess on the flip side, man, I think the opposite of love would be like hate, or like, just like, I guess, good versus evil.
So, I see what you mean.
You know what I'm saying? But who was the one that indoctrinated or enforced that we live in, fear? You know what I'm saying?
Dude, this is going to ruffle some feathers, my man. Do you really want me to answer this question?
Do it. Let's go. Oh, do it. You guys ready for this?
For the last, maybe, I don't know, I'm just going to say 2,000-3,000 years, Christianity, the way it is now, has been an extreme burden to our population, right? The concepts that Jesus Christ spoke of, magnificent. But if you read the Bible as a historical document, you're going to end up super confused, right? Because it's meant, just like any old story, to be read like a metaphor, a symbolism, right?
Exactly.
The Bible, if you read it correctly, is a symbolic text for you to have a psychological journey through. Each of the characters has an attribute that your brain, your mind, needs, so that you can fight back against the insidious ways of the ego, and it's all in there. But there's a bajillion ways to do it. I mean, there's Buddhism, Taoism, Christianity, Judaism, there's all these different sects of everything. And I guess if we're talking Christianity, we might as well boil it back down to Judaism, because we see a lot of control and fear emanate from this place. Like, if anybody tells you you have to do this thing, they're probably full of it and they don't really know. There's a lot of things we should do, but it doesn't mean we have to do.
Exactly.
Right? And so they're saying, like, well, hey, you can't eat pigs. Well, sure, pigs don't sweat. They were notoriously dirty. We didn't have the kind of, as far as I know, we didn't have the kind of medicines back then that we have now. So if you got sick from eating some bad pork, you were probably dead. Nowadays, you get sick, you go to the emergency room, whatever, the care place, and they take care of you.
Yeah.
That wasn't always the case, right? Same with the physical circumcision of, like, kids, right? Hey, there's not running water in every friggin' house. We're going to have to cut that so it doesn't get infected consistently and cause problems. Exactly. So there is a flip side to that control, right? They may have had a positive intention there, but then there was also something about, like, getting stoned with your wife or something if she wanted to be with another woman, and then if you wanted to be dudes, you had to be stoned too. So I don't know if that was like a literal thing or if they just meant like smoke a little marijuana.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe what they really meant, but we just took it too literally.
So we really did, man. Dude, I was freaking raised in the church, man, and I felt like as being a kid, man, and being raised in church, that it's forced on you to fear, man, the heavens and the hells.
You will burn.
Yeah,
Burn.
Yeah.
Really? Because life has a lot of burn in it already.
Burn.
Yeah.
So, I was trying to see how we can loop that into with the ego and I guess duality portions of.
Let me get back on Christianity for a minute, because
Okay,
I don't want anybody to feel excluded. Like, I love all of you who identify in this way as well, right? It's just that you could literally reduce the Bible to one page, and I've talked about this, I think, in the last podcast. Like, the page would just say love everybody, because Jesus wasn't a Christian, Buddha wasn't a Buddhist. These people, if they existed, right? And there is a good chance these prophets existed at some point, but these stories that are told have symbolical journey. This is a multi-layered thing full of depth, and I mean, some of it's wild. We don't even have time to break down. Like, if we were like, hey, we're going to break down the Bible, dude, it would take us like a freaking month of podcasts.
A very long time to do
day.
that one. Yeah, for sure.
It's just huge stuff. But you mentioned duality, right? So if I take a quarter, on one side I have heads, on the other side I have tails, unless we have a trick quarter, which is pretty fun too. But either way, the point of that is the entire coin is just one thing, right? Which is also just actually this huge thing, but for the sake of duality, we're just going to talk about this magic quarter that doesn't exist, right? On one half, everything looks like a good thing, and on the other half, everything looks like a bad thing, so same, fear and love, right? Well, you can have fear inside of you, and you can have love inside of you, and you can accept that you are both afraid and in love with the world, if you will, or whatever conflicting emotions you have. And you can say, instead of being on either end of the spectrum, I'm going to plant my happy ass right in the middle, and I'm going to say, wow, I accept the way I feel, no matter how it is that day, and look at all this beautiful stuff around me. And if there's something deeper in there that you need to feel out, just, let go and let it happen. That's a pretty important one. It took me a long time to figure out. I'm the one getting in the way.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Right, the imagined me. So let's be theoretical for a moment, but
Can we pause just for
sure, absolutely.
for 1 second? So if you guys didn't catch the last 30 seconds or so, let go and let it happen. That's like one of the main things that we can all do, bro, because we're so freaking tied up in our ego and our daily life, freaking cookie cutter lifestyles, but we forget to
let go and let it happen.
Let go and let it happen,
It's
man.
gotta happen.
Let go and
there are things you have to live through. You can push them down and shove them in a box all day.
But they're still going to be there.
That box gets spring loaded. The
still
jack
gonna be
pops
there.
out, and you have a breakdown, and now you're off work for a month, 6 months, and you're burnt out, and your life sucks, and nobody likes being around you. Right? You have to take care of yourself. Oh, the first point. I just remembered it. This is good. It was, how do we get in better touch with ourselves, right? And the real self, sure, right? So we have, and this ego is a part of your real self in a sense, because it exists within you, and therefore it's also the big thing. Just like you are also the big thing. When we get into our body, when we can finally break away from this constant style of living where we're just running through and filtering everything, if you will, through a gate, which is our thought. We filter this thought, and then we get it into our body, right? So in the Eastern world, the soul originates and lives down here. And this is where I feel all of my intuition. And so getting into the body, feeling comfortable in your own skin, inside of it, not being afraid of what you feel inside of your body, and then ultimately loving yourself, that's your win. Being unafraid. And if you are afraid, that's fine too, then be afraid, but don't run. Just a moment, we got one of those golf carts.
They are getting it today, man.
Yeah, it's the end of a long weekend of partying.
Dude, we didn't even say happy Memorial Day to you guys, man. Dude, this is the Memorial Day podcast, man.
And please know that everybody who died and we're remembering on Memorial Day, they're all homies, right?
All homies.
They're all buddies. They want you to have a good time this weekend. They want you to party for them because they can't. And that's my take on it.
Yep.
You know, when I die, kick my ass out to sea in a boat, light that bitch on fire, and have a big party, and just be like, hey, he was a cool dude, maybe. And maybe, I don't know, maybe not everybody loves me. Get it all off you, forget about me, and move on.
Yeah.
Just have a good time.
How it works, man.
Where were we, though? We were somewhere.
We got sidetracked. We're talking. Yeah, I lost it. Yes, intuition.
Sure. Intuition. So we were talking about getting in the body, getting comfortable in your own skin, and loving yourself. There's literally no reason to do anything but love yourself. So let's say your kid gets up one morning and he's like, I pissed the bed. And you're like, man, that sucks. Okay. You can either scream and get angry, or you can be like, hey, man, that's okay. Accidents happen. Either way, somebody's got to clean that bed up. So you can complain the whole time you're doing it, or you can just laugh. And I just prefer to laugh and sing and dance and have a good time and play, you know. And so tying this in a little bit here, if I follow my intuition, and I believe that intuition, in my experience, is a culmination of all of your objective senses giving you a bit of information your mind just doesn't have the capability to process. Because this gut stuff down here is extremely intelligent, right? It puts stuff together and gives us opportunities to experience things we would normally miss. These side quests we kind of talked about before, you know, where the fruit's out on the limb, on the tree, you know, you've got to kind of go off the beaten path a little bit.
Yeah.
So I was wondering and thinking, you know, is there a time in my life I could relate and tell a story on where I trusted that intuition, followed my gut feeling, and ended up with a really sweet result? Or maybe you have one.
I freaking know that I've a lot, man, but let me pinpoint one real quick.
Sure, take your time, man. We're just hanging out.
Yeah, we're out here in nature, you guys.
Oh, the birds.
Beautiful.
The golf carts. Don't forget those. Those are a part of nature, too.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing's God just as much as that poop over there on the ground.
Exactly. Dude. Let me think of a time, and I'm trying to think of a time, which I know that there's a bunch where I wanted to do, the mind wanted to do something else, but the intuition, the gut said that, you know, what's, you know, right to do. And the freaking outcome was a lot better than, you know, the, what do you call it? Duality side, you know.
The negative. Right, so we looked at that duality as well. We're all over the place, man.
Yeah, it's all good, man.
So we looked at that negative, positive aspect. And like, let's say I'm walking, I fall down, I break my arm. Oh man, that sucks. Maybe that sucks. Maybe in a couple of weeks, the Army's going to come and try to conscript me to go to, I don't know, Putinland or something, and I'm going to be like, oh, that sucks, bro, because my arm's broken. So was that a bad thing or a good thing?
Or was it a good thing?
See, and this ties into intuition. Our intuition is extremely intelligent. It knows what needs to happen for our highest growth. And we are the only ones who can feel that, what we need for ourselves. There's your GPS. People are like, I don't know what to do with my life. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know, man. Let's feel inside our bodies and see if we can figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be rude about it, but like, you can complain, but you're missing this part of the puzzle that gives you a rule book in a sense and says like, oh, my moral guidepost inside, all I got to do is follow that. Cool. That makes things simpler. And so our intuition will bring us to things and they'll flow like water. They won't be complex and really hard to figure out. And if they are, they'll still flow like water. But if they don't flow like water, there's a good chance you're not supposed to be messing with it. You know, the other day I'm trying to do 5 things at once and I know better, right? I know better than to try to do more than one thing at a time. Because I can't do it with the quality of depth that it deserves and requires if I do more than one thing at once, or more than one thing at a time.
So what if the viewers have the question of, so what if my gut intuition or my godly self, which, I mean, I guess it wouldn't be God, but the things that the gut is revealing is not good, you know, for them to do.
Oh, so you know, let me see if I understand what you're saying. You're saying, what if the guy's hearing, you know, let's just, for example, like, oh, I need to leave my partner, you know? I mean, so then the person needs to look at why they're feeling that way. Maybe you're just not happy with the contractual agreement you have between your two parties. But like, every relationship's contractual in a sense. You just haven't ironed out all the details or you'd have a good time.
Which ties into freaking ego too. It could be the, you know, freaking ego.
Right. A lot of times when someone's like, you're a jerk, they're also talking to themselves,
Mhm.
right? Because we're all one thing, but there's a good chance of projection.
Yeah.
So the ego wants to say, I want to take all the stuff inside of me that I don't feel like feeling because it hurts, and I'm going to put it on someone else. I'm going to paint the world with those pictures and those colors and those shapes and those things. So when they start doing that, it becomes habitual. And now you have this continually repeating cycle of, I'm going to put my shit on you and you and you. And then we have these people that are self-made black holes, which is a great song by Landmarks. Shout out to you, buddy, because you rock.
Hey.
And and they just go around, and everything they touch, they just hurt. And they make it bleed. And it's not right. And what we may be able to do, if it's safe, is on occasion, we may be able to say, hey, I don't want to walk into that circle of shit you're dealing with, but like I know a better way. And I'm willing to like give you some lines of advice that might put you on a path to set you towards a higher calling, where you aren't hurting people, because like, if anything, just if you can't love people, just don't hurt them, right? And then maybe eventually in time you'll see that we're all more similar than we are dissimilar. The ego wants you to be that.
Yeah.
It wants you to be separate. It doesn't want you to know that we're all the same. We're all stuck in this beautiful existence. We all have problems. We all struggle. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot. And we were talking Bible, so we'll use Jesus. Jesus even said, like, it's going to hurt. It's going to suck. You're going to be tortured. You're going to feel pain, misery, suffering. Yes, there's nothing you can do about it, but in the end, it's going to be okay. Because in the end, this is a giant playground, and this is a big game. And they killed him for telling people that. So who knows what's going to happen to us, but we aren't too concerned because it's just a game, and we'll just come back next time, and we'll do it all over again. Yay.
Correcto mundo. And just to add to that, man, I think that society as a whole, man, we sometimes get into the mindset that, life sucks. It should be, perfect and this and that. Oh, I'm going through this. Oh, I'm going through that. But if you stop with the, this is a bad time, and see it as, I'm just going through a life lesson. Yeah.
Right?
And then you grow and you learn from that.
Absolutely. I can yell at my kids all day. I don't anymore. I used to. I was not a great dad. And I learned
I still
something.
do, guys. So no,
Hey, it's all a continual practice, man.
Sure.
I almost yelled this morning. I was frustrated about something. I was like, I'm just going to go look at the trees because I don't know why I'm upset, and I need to figure it out.
Exactly.
I'm going to take that time for myself and listen to myself. And it had nothing to do with them. It was all me. It was that ego popping up and going, hey, we should be a dick today. And I said, no. I'm going to go outside and just not.
Yeah.
Because at least I can just not hurt people if I can't be loving in that moment. Because not every moment's the same. And the magic is the truth right now might not be the truth in 5 minutes. Right? Everything is constantly changing. I'm getting a little off topic here. Let's try to wind back to some point where we were making
intuition.
The intuition.
Yep.
Yeah. So I was talking about the restaurant we were at. We followed the intuition. We went outside. We talked to the guy, and then the next day, at another job, the Bergman 400 was there. That was a small example from our previous talk of synchronicity, which I think I stumbled over that word super hard.
It's all good. Hey, we heard it. We know what you mean, but
the synchronicity there was, what's the coincidence odds % chance of that happening? Astronomically unfeasible, right?
Yeah.
So like the world is working with us as we go on these side quests and as we follow that positive intuition. On a side note, you can follow your ego to places I don't even have to tell you about because you've been there. And you go there consistently when you run into those problems and those hard things and you run away and you think, well, drinking will fix it, drugs will fix it, running away and having sex with everyone I possibly can will fix it. It won't. And getting into a relationship won't fix it. The only person who can fix it is you yourself.
Ooh.
I believe in you that you can fix whatever it is you're struggling with. And Lamar mentioned earlier, what if your intuition wants you to do something you don't want to do? Do it. Do it.
Do it.
See what happens. Take that leap of faith. Now, if it's telling you to hurt someone, right, this breaks our first rule we need to follow.
Right.
Don't hurt anybody.
Don't hurt anybody.
Start with that. Let's call that rule 1. Just don't hurt anybody. Physically, mentally, emotionally, if you can afford it. Self-defense is another story. I don't want to get into it. Right? This is a place of love, and hopefully we can all get to that place where the idea of self-defense is non-existent, because we can live in a world without armor. We can live in a world without war. We can have peace. We can feed, clothe, and water every child along the world. And they're not plants, but metaphorically speaking, you know, we should be able to take care of everybody here. There is enough. Why are we still doing this?
Why are we?
Oh, it's our ego. It wants us to fight and divide, and that's my thing is better than your thing. And nope, if it ain't love, it's shit. Get rid of it.
Exactly.
Right?
See, I think that one of the hardest things for people to do as an individual is to check themselves. That's one of the hardest things to do, is to check yourself, man.
Why do you think that is?
It's the ego, man. It's because it's the ego, man. It's one of the hardest things to do is to check yourself. Like when you're fucking up, and then if you realize it and you correct it, it's progress. You know what I'm saying?
That's progress. If you're even aware of the fact that you're doing it.
Exactly.
That's progress.
Exactly.
So let's take an example. Let's make an example, because I'm just not thinking of things immediately in my brain.
Yeah.
We could say the intuition says, I need you to go down and move to Oklahoma. Now, this is a real story one for me now, because I just did that, right? I just moved to Oklahoma for 9 months, totally changed the life. I had to go there. I had to see some things, and I had to experience some pain. That there was a point where I told God, dude, we need to fix this, because I can't go on living if we can't fix this. And that started a process of powerlessness, surrender, and humility that changed my life, that could change your life. It could help you purify yourself to the point where you don't want to hurt anybody anymore either, because you're not in pain like that. And you will still hurt, but not in a pain where you want to take it out on others and hurt them. We have to stop hurting each other. Please, I beg you, all of you. You know, if you want to be lippy and passive-aggressive with your coworker, I suggest you go home, lay down, and imagine yourself saying nice things to them, and do that until you stop being a dick to them. They don't deserve it, neither do you. You know, and that's one simple way where you might find some peace, because anything you can imagine, your body can't tell the difference between whether it's real or not. So if you feel as if you need to have an experience, you could always try to imagine it first and see if that gives cessation to your desire, right? Because desire is where we get into our suffering. And I think we're going to have to wrap it up, because it's Bobcat time.
Hey, man. We thank you guys for tuning in, man. We thank you guys. Comment down below.
Absolutely. Ask questions.
Are we doing like a 4-part of?
I don't know how big this one's going to be. We might hit another part, and then at some point at the end, I'd like to wrap it all together, maybe into some kind of document we can put out there for guys and girls to download, whatever you guys want to do.
For sure.
And use it. Or days, if you got any of those. Cool with whatever you are. I love you. You're just a big part of this happening, as we all are.
We are.
Love yourself, and let's just keep doing this. We'll see you next week.
See ya. Sweet.
Hell yeah.